Hi everybody, I'm Phil Fatika and welcome back to the Millcreek Government Channel. We would like to invite you to come to downtown Erie all the time. And the gentleman who's going to convince you of that is sitting right next to me. This is John Buchna. John is Erie downtown personified. We can call you that?
I believe so, sure.
Chief Executive Officer, Grand Poobah, person in charge of everything.
Whatever you need us to do, as long as you come downtown and enjoy your stay, that's what we're happy.
The right man in the right place for the right job, John. That's you. And you can see from behind us, this is what John is representing. Erie downtown, and it's fair to say that any community our size has to have a downtown. The downtown has to thrive so we all thrive. Agree with that?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, it's the core of communities. It's the core that the city is built around. It's the core that the county and the region are built around. Absolutely would agree with that statement.
Yeah. Let's go back a little bit, though, a little bit of history. I would say probably started maybe 10, 11 years ago, kind of as a nonprofit. I mean, somebody had to do something that says we're leaking and we're not stopping the leaking or flooding in some cases.
Correct. We are in our 11th year as a nonprofit organization. The core mission of the organization is to assist the city in its efforts, if you will, to revitalize downtown.
Okay.
After 11 years, there's been a lot of revitalization. So oftentimes we don't use that word as much, but overall we work very closely with the city and other stakeholders, again, so that downtown changes and it modernizes and it thrives.
Yes. I get the impression, and I hope you can agree with this, it's like herding cats for a little while because you have so many disparate points, and it's your job to put them in some sort of a, I don't want to use the word box or pen, but maybe some kind of order or some sort of systems.
Exactly. I mean, initiatives, there are so many aspects and different stakeholders involved. We look at it and say, it's the community's downtown. What is it that we can do to work to attract the people to come downtown, to enjoy their time, and ultimately, like you said, sometimes we're shifting a little bit, but overall, it's still that core, inviting people to come downtown and enjoy their community.
Now, when you say downtown, I have a map here, and it's going to be a little hard to see, I know, but I think we'll be able to get that up on a CG or something. You have a map here of downtown. And when you say downtown, how do you define it? What is downtown to you?
This particular map, you're looking at, our organization is based off of a Main Street model, and I can get into more details in a minute, but primarily, we call it a district that we work closely with, and that district is defined by the bayfront on the very north end.
Okay.
Go south, you have the railroad tracks right at 14th Street.
Sure.
Sassafras Street on the west, and Holland Street on the east.
Okay.
Within that rectangular district, so to speak, is a 70-block area that our organization works very closely with the city, and again, focusing on that particular area.
Okay, that's a good definition, so we know what we're talking about here. And you have then your goal, your mission is to not only have these businesses downtown thrive and prosper, but to attract people to live down there. And you have the next 3 days to discuss what else you do because it's very large, it's very big.
It is.
Go ahead.
As I mentioned, and I'll be very brief about it, if you go back to post-World War II era, you know, as troops returned from the war, a lot of downtowns, you know, the suburbs started to, if you will, come to be.
Come to be.
And you left a lot of downtowns vacated, of which buildings were there. So the National Trust on Historic Preservation started a model called Main Street, very similar to a business. You may have a franchise, if you will, but the Main Street model built on 4 principles, and they said to communities, this has been proven. If you follow this model, you can increase your chances of returning your downtowns and bringing people back down, bringing businesses back to downtown. So that's that model we've been following for the past 11 years.
Okay.
So it is a Main Street model, but we are a business improvement district, nonprofit. Back in '04, then Mayor Rick Filippi, you know, ultimately started the program, and here we are 11 years later. Still working very closely with the Senate administration.
Judging your success, you would call it a B, C, D?
Oh, I would absolutely put this in, you know, each program is a little different, a lot of A's, certain B's, you know, certain areas we haven't gotten to yet, but ultimately, you know, it's hard because there's so many things that we can be doing. We want to stay focused. We want to make, you know, certain elements and priorities, we've been focusing a lot more on safety as of late, marketing as of late. We want to make people more aware of the opportunities they have in their downtown. And of course, from a business standpoint, we're welcoming more businesses, and it's ultimately good for the city, the downtown, and the region as a whole.
Sure. It didn't leak away overnight, and it's
not going to turn around overnight.
All the people behind the cameras and directing here, they're all of that age where they're going downtown. That's where we want to go. That's our thriving. That's our social. That's our maybe even live there. That's our do there. That's our we want to claim that, and you want that to be blossoming and in full bloom.
Absolutely, and we've talked many different times about other communities. You'll see this resurgence of people wanting to be more involved with their downtown and in, as you mentioned, the living aspect. A master plan was developed a few years ago. It had called for the addition of the market rate housing, the condos and or apartments. We've seen that success, and there's a lot more success planned, but that's a prime example of, I'll say, younger generations wanting to be part of that downtown, that want to live, work, and play, and ultimately not ready for the suburbs as of yet.
And that, I think, is a trend nationwide?
It is very much nationwide, very much so.
There was
not
that
just large
migration out now.
Influx.
My children want to come back, or maybe, yeah, I would say that my children, yeah.
It's children, but it's not just people in the living aspect. You're also seeing it from a business standpoint. You look at retailers in general, large box stores and chains. They've, if you will, to a certain point, saturated suburbs. They've saturated with stores. Now they're saying, how do we keep continuing? So they themselves are returning downtown with smaller models of stores, Target, Walmart, and so on and so forth, are looking back towards the downtowns because of the large concentration of people working there, having the time to, if you will, look at the stores, look at the items before they return to their homes, if by chance they live in the suburbs.
And you have Mr. Kennedy, who's made a substantial investment in the Renaissance Center.
He has. Rick Griffith has made substantial, and will be making more. I mean, and these are the types of leaders that we're involved with, in addition to the city officials and the different authoritative directors. But we work together again. We're looking to do more collaborative efforts to make it to fulfill the needs of the people who are using downtown.
And again, calling attention to this particular map here, I'm just going to hold that up. The Bayfront. When people come back here, and we had friends here visiting not too long ago, and they look at that and they go, holy smokes, what a transformation.
It has been a transformation.
And it's a wow.
It's a wow factor, and a lot more plans, as which people have been following. There's a lot more planning and a lot more wow to come in the future. John Oliver from Visit Erie has a wonderful program that he talks about, and he mentions some assets. And he finishes up by saying, what's unique about this? Most of these assets weren't in existence 20 years ago. And that just is a testament of the transformation, not just on a bayfront, but just our community as a whole. There's just been a lot of good growth and a lot more planned.
And of course, just to fairly represent the other side, there's some people that say, well, we don't.
Yeah, I know they want more growth, faster growth. We
don't want that. I rather sit and look at the sunset and look at the top of the Sheraton or something.
Change is difficult.
Yes, it is.
Change for many people. Some want it fast, some don't want it at all, and it's not to decide. It's a matter of how best to manage the change for the development of the community as a whole. Are we fulfilling the needs, meeting the needs of those from the bayfront to the downtown as it impacts our neighborhoods? Yeah.
Now, one of the items that John brought in was something that I think everybody supports. I believe you can get a shot of that. I think it's buy local. And yeah, why not? That's what we all want to do, is we want to buy local, support the local people. Let's keep these businesses good and thriving and up and going and having people with jobs. I mean, to me, this is a no-brainer, buy local.
Well, our organization and many other local organizations have often said, buy local. And there's been a nationwide movement, on the Small Business Saturday and other days to raise the awareness of consumers that take a closer look at your local merchants. Maybe your restaurants, maybe your retailers. Those are the ones that are the backbone of a community. And those independent businesses, when you support them, that money goes directly back into your community.
Sure it does.
They sponsor our teams. They're there for charitable, many different aspects, volunteerism. Not that the boxes and chains are not, but ultimately, again, with your local flavor, there's a 350 project initiative. Every $50 impacts 3 businesses and every 3. So there's different ways of looking at it, but it definitely buy local helps our local regional economy.
Just from a sports standpoint, you have the ballpark downtown. Absolutely. You have it all put there together in a complex of the Convention Authority, which is now Erie Events. And where else can you go? You find a place to park, you're 2 blocks away, you're not going to spend $20 to park, you're not going to spend $40 for a seat, and on certain Mondays, it's $1 everything.
Correct.
I mean, and you got a ballpark where you're able to see like the Verlanders who played there and pitched there. I mean, you know.
We have tremendous assets in downtown.
Yeah.
We have, if you will, the sports teams. We have the arts and cultural organizations, the Playhouse, the Philharmonic, and others, and that's what makes our downtown unique. And those are the assets we look to from an overall umbrella marketing. When we tell people, you know, come downtown, we want them to enjoy those aspects and those different assets that are already here.
And another thing that John brought in is the E, which would be the EMTA, the bus. And it's a cultural loop, though. And I'm not so sure that I'm that familiar with this, but this cultural loop is a brochure that says when you, oh, we're over here, okay, no, we're over here, okay. This is where you can ride and there's an actual tour?
Well, yes, this is a pilot program that's been out there for about 6 months.
Okay.
It was funded by the Erie Alternate Culture Organization in conjunction with EMTA and our group. And it's, as of now, it's Saturday night. Where you can park at the Intermodal Transportation Center.
All right.
Get on the cultural loop.
Yeah.
Go to a restaurant, go to a show, and return.
Okay.
So it's primarily a door-to-door service.
Nice.
We're having meetings now as we are, to how do we grow, how do we continue, so that it does maybe segue into a Friday night.
Okay.
Or extended hours. But ultimately, that's a type of service we're saying we need to put this type of infrastructure. Not from a city, not from a road standpoint, but from a services standpoint, so that people will come downtown more frequently, enjoy and invest in their community.
Perhaps I'm giving away my age here, but if we go someplace, I don't go, oh, let's go to the mall. No, I go, let's go downtown. What do you have to offer? What's the pulse of the city? What does the city value? What do the people value? What's important? What are they keeping? What are they building? How are they maintaining? Where are they going? Yeah, I know you're going to get that at the big box stores in the malls, but yeah. And I tend to think that people younger than me also are feeling that too. I hope I'm right.
There is a synergy. I've been asked this many a times. There's synergy and some energy that exists that you don't find, at a mall setting. Again, the mall is an asset to our community as a whole.
Absolutely, sure it is.
But ideally, in a downtown community, you have these independent owners. It's their personalities. It's their, for instance, if it's a restaurant, it's their mixture of food, maybe authentic French, authentic Italian, authentic, Indian. Those types of restaurants differentiate themselves from others. And you're in there, it's almost like you're in there with your neighbor, that that local owner could be your neighbor, so to speak. And it's definitely different than what standards, malls type Miracle Miles settings have to offer.
Yeah, yeah. And no offense to the malls at all, none whatsoever there. I think you're most aware that things happen in downtown that are unique to downtown. For example, there's Perry Square.
Correct.
Some people are going, well, I don't like what they've done with it, but it's there. How to find your way around, the signage. That took a long time to get here.
That's one of when we say what impact have we had, we've worked again closely with the city, but there's wayfinding signs. If you look a little closer, the old directional signs, we led that, if you will, in conjunction with the city, but it was funded. But it's those types of amenities, signage, facade programs and others that are going to make downtown more attractive and more functioning. So again, as people come downtown, they're able to navigate where they want to be and ultimately see and support some of the assets. We're working very closely with the Parking Authority, some other groups to improve that experience, because it is the experience of going to a downtown. Oftentimes people go to larger downtowns, but when they come back to Erie, our phone rings or the email dings and says, hey, why can't we do this? And part of that is that planning that just takes time, funding of course, but ultimately it's something that we're looking to improve going forward.
I think too, there's a beautification to it, new plantings.
We had an anonymous donor gifted the city of Erie some funds that said these are to be used specifically to green up downtown. And the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy was the administrator of it, and the city said, why don't you work with the Downtown Partnership? So we were very thankful, not just for the opportunity, but of course the gift. But in it, we've added over 300 trees to the downtown community, and that takes that, if you will, the concrete and the steel, and it brings it to life, so to speak. And greenery is there's a calming, soothing, there's many other benefits to it, but ultimately, again, it helps us progress and make downtown more vibrant, and that's what people are looking for.
Good, good. Again, this is John Buchna, and John is the Erie Downtown CEO, Executive Director?
Yeah. The technical title is the Chief Executive Officer,
Okay.
but oftentimes as a nonprofit, the Executive Director. But just like many other groups, you wear many hats.
Yes.
Whatever the function, we need to be. But there's myself. We have an assistant director, and we really want to call it. We have two gentlemen that are out there in the streets each day that literally clean the downtown, and it's a lot of cigarette butts. Unfortunately, get trashed. We purchased urns. They don't use them as much as they need to be using them. Right. But we ask people, if you do come down, if you can use them, that'd be great. But we have those two people. So we have a 4-person crew, and we have a part-time accountant. Does wonderful for us. So our small crew, we do this stuff daily, and we just want to make it more presentable for those that do come downtown.
And that's people notice that.
They do.
Absolutely.
They do.
I don't want it dirty and
here we have a long winter.
Wrong impression.
It does.
Nobody cares.
We have a long winter, and we'll very soon bring out the pressure washer, where we'll start pressure washing some of the sidewalks, some of that dirt. Graffiti removal. It's just not. Graffiti isn't welcome downtown or any community. No. And that's one of the aspects we say. We take pride in saying, let's get rid of it. Let's make it as attractive as we can. We get out to the dock. There happens to be some bird droppings and other things. Again, making it presentable for those that do come, that they enjoy their time in downtown.
There are new businesses which have come into being in downtown. Let me tick them off for you here. Cloud9, 10th and French, McCoy's, well, Heritage Wine Cellars.
Correct.
Am I got it right? Is it soft or hard? Is it Gigliotti's?
Gelatis.
Gelatis, okay. Right. Recap, Mason jars. And Impromptu, a gift shop. That's 6 I've ticked off right there. Yeah, that's a good number.
Those were last year. We just, Jimmy John's opened.
Jimmy John's recently in the 5th and State.
5th and State, and we have a few other on the horizon. But it's that type of, we're sending the message that says you can do well as an owner in downtown Erie, from a business standpoint. We're trying to broaden the offers, or the choice that people have, not just from a dining, but if you look at Recap Mason jars, even within the Renaissance Center, Radius Co-work, we're looking at what are the needs of tomorrow, the next generation from a work standpoint. How does that office environment change? What type of, I'll use the term white collar, but what type of worker can we attract in downtown so that we populate it with more density of workers?
Well, and of course the Times News has been downtown forever, Absolutely. But the Erie Reader has moved into the Renaissance Center with those young people who are making a mark in journalism, and they get that paper out and people read that. Because they have notable people writing for that paper, and I know some of them, and they do their homework.
That's a prime example of saying, you can take a small business, whether it's one person or 4 or 5, and there's how we get growth. I mean, a restaurant may open, and they may have anywhere from 10. Jimmy John's has 25 employees, for instance, and this was one of the recent ones. But you can take a Radius Co-work, and you can have, your business along with 4 other independent businesses collaboratively working. But it's that type of growth that we can say, you add these 1, 2, 4, or 5 jobs at a time, we build our downtown.
That's right. And notorious in a good sense of the block parties that are going on. I mean, come on, and people, they want to party and they want to socialize.
It's the 10th year for our very popular block party and bike night events. We've had some great sponsors help us orchestrate those, but ideally, again, people work hard in this community. It's a way for them to come downtown, even after all these years, because usually after 10 years, sometimes events drop off. These events are going very strong. They're tied to a charity, and we praise this. Great vision on our organization and board's behalf, but each of these events, if you will, are tied to a local charity. And over the 10-year period, there's been over $200,000 raised, primarily $1 at a time, by the hardworking people of our community have donated this type of money, but to these local charities, and that money stays local.
Not to mention Roar on the Shore.
Absolutely, Roar on the Shore
is multi-bucks.
When we started our bike night events, Roar on the Shore didn't exist. So as that event grew, we've lessened ours. The car shows that George Lyons orchestrates, even Celebrate Erie. These like the Rib Fest. These are other events that we don't directly do, but they're in the downtown community. They do bring economic investment downtown, and it's really good because, once again, our asset of the downtown and, if you will, the assets as a whole get the benefit from that.
And the, I'm not sure if this falls under the umbrella of what we're discussing, but I think the 8 Great Tuesdays certainly is on the Bayfront. And recently, we noted that the wind has kind of taken that.
It has, but that's temporary. I think
that'll be back.
That'll be back. But you look at the Bayfront as its whole. I mean, the Bayfront, the Bay is part of downtown.
Sure.
And when you ask people, they consider it part of downtown, and that's great. We need to remain connected to that because as that growth occurs, we want that. We want those people to enjoy those amenities and amenities we have to offer.
And the golf is the growth is becoming visible with the construction of the new Marriott there by the Sheraton, and we're certainly hoping that Mr. Scott builds his Harbor Place, which will be on State Street there. I mean, that is just like. That's boom, big time in anybody's downtown area that those things will be going on. And once that Marriott gets up in the parking lot, the developers will come in, the private developers, because they need that infrastructure in there to say, well, I'm not going to put in the sewers, that's your job. And once that's in there, they'll be there.
Correct.
I mean, that is prime property.
And even for that matter, PennDOT is now looking at that Bayfront Parkway saying, that was built, I think, 25 years ago. 20 plus years ago. And again, those needs were different.
I was only 7 when it was built.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where did the time go?
I don't know.
But those needs have changed. But it's recognized that PennDOT is, again, looking at it saying, in conjunction with the city and others, how do we remain connected? It's not just from a safety, but from a connectivity so that, again, people, even residents, you don't have to be outside of our community. We define, I'll say, a guest or a tourist, somebody who may reside in Girard or Corey or Harbor Creek. If you're coming downtown, even Millcreek, when you're coming downtown, it's your destination.
Yep.
And we enjoy seeing you there. We take pride in your downtown, respect it, use the urns, and just have a good time.
When you go to big conferences, and I know you do, and you get together with people who do something similar to you do you pretty much stay with the size of the city of Erie's, or do you go with the Chicagos and the LAs or the San Diegos and say, well, what are you doing there for best practices that we can do? Or what do they tap into you and say, what are you doing?
Exactly. We are part of the Pennsylvania Downtown Center, and that's the oversight group that works very closely with the Department of Community and Economic Development. But we gather with about 80 other programs very similar to ours, some of which, like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and surrounding communities, are larger than you have smaller communities like Oil City. And again, you're literally looking at what are they doing, how can that impact us, and or what are we doing, how can we impact them. We get often asked about our block party events and how we're able to do those versus other communities, but we're ultimately, what are they doing with their facade program? What are they doing with their external security cameras? So it's a great opportunity for us to network as well as gain additional knowledge to bring back and implement in downtown Erie.
You mentioned that, I'm glad you did. Let's talk about the security, because people go, I'm not sure about that. What do you have to say about that?
Many communities, there's just been this you just see this evolution. Security cameras, we've learned, we've worked a program here, we've launched a program, so to speak. We understand, and working very closely with the police and the security chiefs of the large employers in downtown, that the presence of cameras change behaviors.
Okay.
And ultimately, some of that behavior just is not welcome in downtown. Just please, be on your best behavior, but ultimately respect it. So if by chance the cameras happen to capture something that you're doing that you shouldn't be doing, and the police have said we will use it, but it's just not welcome in downtown. We want to get that message across.
There's a huge study that took about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. Was initially called Destination Erie, and people said, well, I don't like that title. So the title has changed to 2040.
Emerge 2040.
Regional, yeah. Emerge 2040. So in 25 years from now, that's all part of a quote-unquote master plan, because they've gone out and sampled and talked to, and is that all part of your wheelhouse too?
It is. We are undergoing our own, if you will, strategic recommendation plan. The city is going underneath their comprehensive plan, developing it, and all of this is working with Emerge 2040.
Okay.
We've tell people in a simplistic way, you have your downtown, you have your city, and you have your region. There's been a lot of collaboration and a lot of initiatives that are being discussed so that we get efficiency, but ultimately we have one chance to do it right. And we want to do this in these plans. Just like in building a home or building a business, you need a plan. in growing and rebuilding a community and furthering a community, the development of a community, you need a plan. Emerge 2040, the city's comprehensive plan, and the downtown recommendation plan, or the master plan, so to speak, are all working together so that, again, it benefits the community as a whole.
You can't ask for more than that. That's for darn sure. Again, this is John Buchner, and John is the executive director of Erie Downtown. And I think I remember a time when, of course, there were movie theaters downtown.
Absolutely.
But maybe in the plans that they may come back. I don't know.
We have.
I would like to see that.
I mean, of course, the Warner Theaters, as majestic as it is, it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
We have separate committees, one of which is a promotions committee, and we look at ways to attract more people downtown. And perhaps maybe we'll be doing activities that can draw it to the theater. But before I forget, I really want to remind all the viewers, our website, which is a new site that was launched last year, eriedowntown.com.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward. A lot of information, including electronic copies of that map that you can view, you can download, put it on your phone. The website is mobile ready. I know we're all connected to our devices, but eriedowntown.com. Shoot us an email, give us a call, but we're here to answer questions. But we really take a look at that site. A lot of great information, and it's connected to a lot of other community groups like Erie Events, Visit Erie, Chamber, etc.
Again, we have a couple of minutes left, and the younger people behind the camera looking to kind of not have that big commute from the suburbs, but live downtown and be able to bike,
absolutely,
walk to work.
Yeah, we've been working to make it a much friendlier, walkable downtown. When you look at the streetscape master plan that was done, those bump outs, in essence, that were in place are literally making it so that it's easier to walk downtown. Through our plan right now, we're looking at the addition of bike lanes.
Okay.
The plan calls for bike lanes, but the streetscape plan, it factors that in. But what we're looking at are which east, west, north, south. So you look at that type of development, you say that's where the direction the city's going. You can take a look at, and that's from a service standpoint, how do we take groups like those that bicycle and coming downtown to be more accommodating. The Erie Metropolitan Transit Authority is going through some good changes, and they're developing just their own structure, and we've already approached them, and there's a great opportunity forthcoming to put bicycle storage, potentially storage and repair station for bikes, maybe even a bike share program, even electrical vehicle charging. The needs of the future we're looking at now. And we want to be accommodating, again, not just regionally, but locally too. If people in Harbor Creek have an electrical vehicle and they want to come downtown and charge it while they're working, we need to be accommodating to that.
Right, yeah. Again, John Buchner. John, we got a couple minutes left. I said maybe even less than that, and you get the last word. You can take any of the points that we have discussed or something that we did not discuss. It all comes down to downtown Erie.
Correct.
It is alive, it is vibrant, it is now, it is happening, and they want you definitely to participate in it.
Yeah, we invite people, if you're coming, it's your downtown. Enjoy it, respect it, but come down, enjoy yourself. And again, more information on our website at eriedowntown.com, but we appreciate the opportunity, and ultimately, again, enjoy your downtown. It's your downtown.
I enjoyed having you here.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. With John Buchner, I'm Phil Fatica. Until next time, don't forget, downtown Erie is waiting for you to visit. Take care.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.